Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. And, anyone who's listened to this program for any significant period of time knows about my relationship with and love for my old school, Abilene Christian University. I am a Wildcat. And, in fact, on Saturday, I'm going to be out there watching them play HBU. I'm looking forward to that. And I am a big fan, and so delighted to be able to talk to someone who is a big fan of ACU as well. And that's Jessica Cunningham, and she works with the folks there at Abilene Christian University as a consultant, as a development officer. And Jessica, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here, Kevin.
Yeah, you mentioned that you are an alum as well of ACU.
That's right. I graduated in 2008 from Abilene Christian.
2008. You are a youngin'. All right. And then you are, what was your degree in? Business?
I studied marketing and management.
Marketing and management. Yeah, and you went to a very different school than I went to. Although by the time I finished, they had finished the new business building and the new Bible building, but it was very new. They've added a lot since then, and are in the middle of adding so much more. It's pretty amazing.
That's right. There's a lot of changes happening right now.
The little city on the hill has just exploded. It's just amazing. So, and in fact, there's a couple of major development campaigns going on right now. Can you talk a little bit about those?
That's right. We are adding a science facility complex as well as a stadium complex right now. And so they're in the midst of those two campaigns to raise the capital for those projects.
Yeah, one of them is I can't remember. They have one of the most original buildings there is going to become, what's that called? Do you remember?
Oh, it's the Bennett Gymnasium.
Bennett Gymnasium. One of when I went there, they were using it to play basketball, just as I guess it was intramural.
Intramurals.
Yeah.
They've been using it for intramurals.
That's what they were, and I guess they're still doing it until they kick them out entirely.
Well, a few years ago, they built the new recreation center.
They don't need it anymore. But they were still playing basketball and such when I was going to school there. And so that's interesting. But they're going to make that into labs. Is that correct?
That's right. The engineering and physics lab will now be in Bennett Gymnasium.
That's amazing. Yeah. Have you ever read No Ordinary University? The book by John Stevens.
I have not read through it, but
I just finished it. I just finished it, and it's just fascinating to see. They're the first science, building at Abilene Christian University was essentially old barracks that were lined up, and incredible fire hazards, and and it's just incredible to see where this university began on North First in Abilene in very humble circumstances to see what it's become today. Which, as a regional university, is one of the most prestigious and one of the best values in education, and consistently gets huge accolades in that category. It's pretty exciting, actually.
Yeah, it is. It's exciting how far the university's come, being nationally recognized in several departments from our humble beginnings, as you said.
Yeah, very humble, very
exciting.
Awesome. So talk a little bit about your business, what you do to help nonprofits. This is the thing you do.
Well, I'm an independent consultant working with nonprofits to help raise funds for their operations and for capital campaigns. And I will do that by making a personal connection with their constituency and to get them involved with giving to the organization and get them involved with volunteering and attending events and things like that. Okay.
And you've been doing this for how long? About a year, I think you mentioned?
For about a year.
Yeah, and that's interesting. And you've been doing this for how long for other nonprofits? About a year?
Right.
You just moved into this?
Right, I did recently.
Yeah, but your background, I would think, with the degree in marketing would be a great tool to be able to leverage relationship and develop relationships.
You'd be surprised how much this position is like a sales position. I'm calling on folks and arranging meetings and talking to them about the organization and getting them to take action on it.
Yeah, I'm actually not at all surprised. It's exactly what it is, and in fact, in some ways, it's a harder sell because you're trying to only move their altruistic desires rather than their self-interest desires.
Right.
Sometimes if there's self-interest involved, it's an easier sell.
That's absolutely right. One of the keys, and this is it's true of any business, but especially in the nonprofit world, that we want to tell people about why we do the things that we do. That needs to be at the height of our message, as opposed to telling people just what we're doing, and we'd like for you to be involved. Yeah. An example for a hospital, that is building a new wing. If the hospital says, we are building this new wing for our heart patients, will you please contribute? Well, that's kind of cool, but I don't know that it will call me to action. But if we tell you why we're doing this, in the current facilities, our heart patients are cooped up and not able to get back on their feet very quickly. But if they have a space to rehabilitate and to recover and are able to get back on their feet quickly, and their heart will become stronger during that rehab process. So we are going to build a new facility with a space dedicated to the heart patient's recovery. Now that's a more powerful message, and that is going to motivate me to be involved because it's impacting people.
Yeah, it really is. It's in a very powerful and tactical way as well. So I think that's awesome. That's fantastic. And, so with someone like with your background, one of the things I found interesting, because there's very few people that were more intimately familiar with the finances of ACU than Dr. Stevens, the late Dr. Stevens, who was an amazing man. He was also a professor of mine and got some great stories related to him. I really thought I thought very highly of Dr. Stevens. But, what I found very interesting is that, of course, Abilene Christian has a very unique and has worked very hard to maintain that unique Church of Christ, heritage and background. But they've always figured out how to get support outside of that arena. And I would say now, because of the dynamics of the Church of Christ in the United States today, that the need to do that is even greater now than ever. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, sure.
Getting non-Church of Christ institutions interested in that university.
Oh, sure. Well, the student body is less than half Church of Christ background now.
Really?
And so now we have several alumni that are not Church of Christ affiliated, but they have that tie because ACU is their alma mater. And as well, ACU is part of the community in the city of Abilene. And so they're able to work with businesses there in Abilene. And right now with the new science complex going in, able to work with some engineering firms and some oil and gas companies that are interested in this project because it will produce qualified individuals for their organizations that will graduate from these programs.
Mm-hmm. It's fantastic. Well, I think that's awesome. I appreciate you spending time telling us more about it and about your work, Jessica Cunningham, and enjoyed it. And she is works as a consultant to Abilene Christian University. You can learn more about them at acu.edu. I am a fan. I remain a fan. I've made a lot of decisions over the years, some of which I'm thrilled about, some not so much. But ACU is definitely one that I'm really glad I made. So thanks for telling us about you and your work.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on the show, Kevin.
You bet. All right, when we come back, much more for you. I do want to remind you, though, the best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. And you're listening to The Price of Business.